Let me tell you, I am very excited for this video because this was a chapter that I had no prior knowledge about, so Nidzo, thank you for the request. Today we're going to be talking about the Blood Swords. The Blood Swords are a Codex compliant chapter that are supposedly a descendant of the Blood Angels. Why do I say supposedly? Because although they did partake in the devastation of Baal, which one would assume when Dante recalled all defending chapters that were descendants of the Blood Angels to defend Baal, the Blood Swords were one of those that answered the call to defend from the Tyranid High Fleet. But according to, I believe, the most recent codex that they were a part of, which would be the 5th Space Marine Codex, the Blood Swords do not claim being descendants from Sanguinius, therefore they would not be any descendants or have any relation with the Blood Angels. It makes for an interesting story, and I do hope that GW potentially answers this question sometime. That being said, their current chapter master is Urkon. He would take up the mantle of chapter master when their previous chapter master, Lord Dagon, who was a dreadnought, would fall in battle while protecting the remains of Sanguinius from a chaos assault on Baal. Another piece of evidence that would add to them being descendants of the Blood Angels, but again, their last codex appearance would contradict that. As I previously said, they did partake in the devastation of Baal, fighting against the Tyranid High Fleet that sacked the whole entire planet. They did once have a former homeworld named Jaggerfall, and because of its location, they also shared very close relations with another nearby chapter known as the Star Dragons chapter. But for whatever reason, the Blood Swords have undertaken some kind of great act of shame, which has drawn them away from their planet. Now they embark on a penitent crusade near the Eye of Terror, all in an attempt to redeem themselves in the eyes of the Emperor, to which they will return to their homeworld when need be. As you can see, their style is pretty cut and dry and simple to paint in case anybody is interested in painting one of these minis. But more importantly, I want to talk about the issue of the conflicting sources as to whether or not they are successors of the Blood Angels. The most primary reason being the fact that they partook in the devastation of Baal. But aside from that, despite the fact that the 5th Codex ends up stating otherwise, that they don't claim the Blood Angels as their descendants, another novel named Red Fury was released the same year. And sometimes GW ends up releasing novels that may have conflicting time periods and or sources. Throughout the novel, not all the authors may end up communicating with one another, so maybe a codex is released later, but the novel takes place later, even though it doesn't specify it. The novel is known as Red Fury, and I won't spoil it, but I will talk about the fact that it does acknowledge that the Blood Swords are in fact from the Blood Angels. Both of these novels, the 5th Codex and Red Fury, came out at the same year. And this is why I do believe we have the conflicting source as to whether or not they are or aren't. So I know there's not exactly a lot of information on these guys, but I do think that their history, as well as all that we know about them, is pretty interesting. I'm sorry I couldn't provide a lot more information on these guys, but Nidzo, thanks again for the request. I hope you all enjoyed this video as much as I did making it. Remember to drop a comment if there's anything you guys want to hear about next. Remember to join the Discord, and lastly, to follow for more.